In this video, I will explain how to use an Excel template to calculate snow depth days using a semi-automated technique. On this first sheet in Excel, you have an overview of the data. So the snow depth days for different years and some graphs. Of course, there's no values in this template as it has not been filled yet. But a filled template may look something like this. Now, each other sheet for different years has the same template. The color codes for the cells are: yellow represents cells where you would input values, blue cells contain formulas that should not be modified, and orange cells are adjacent to variables that you may need to adjust during the process. The first step is to paste the snow stake temperature values below, and each column, numbered here, refers to a separate I button at a different height on the stake, from 5 to 120. Another column is added for air temperature data if available. I will take data from our completed set for that year. Now, it does not necessarily begin at the very top, because in each template it is set to begin on the 1st of September at midnight. And you want to be sure to paste the values. There. You'll see the blue cells will automatically become populated with values. Now here we're having a problem because we have no values in the 100 column. There's no data. And our variable for the top I button is set at 100. So I must change that to 80 in this case. There we go. So now we can start to see what these blue cells are calculating. Here we have the 2-day future running mean for each I button. I select a cell. You can see the values it is using. Next, we have the absolute difference in the 2-day running mean for each I button and the top I button, or in our case, the 80 centimeter I button. So you can see we're using the 2-day running mean at 10 centimeters, and it's being compared to the 2-day running mean for right here. Excellent. The next section calculates the absolute difference in standard deviation over 2 days. So we're going back to our values for the standard deviation, and you can't see it, but it's also calculating the values here according to the formula. Then, let me get to the interesting part. Just move this graph so we can see. This section calculates an estimated total snow height, snow depth. And currently it's 0, but move down. There. Start having values. And these are calculated by adding how much would be added for each I button. And these values are calculated based on the height of the I button, as well as the next working I button, which is calculated up here, so formulas, to determine the value added. For instance, because the 5 I button is not working, we don't get any value added for that one. since the 10 I button is working and the next one working is the 20 centimeter, we know that there must be at least, we estimate between the two, so 15 centimeters of snow. Next you have the 20 centimeter I button, and the next working one is the 30 centimeter. So here we don't add the difference between, but we would need to get 25, so 15 plus 10 gives us 25. And as you see, that's how it's calculated. Beside this column, we have a daily average being calculated. Excellent. And then, depending on different thresholds that are set here, whether we want to consider the I button covered or not, you can modify these values and it'll affect how your graph looks here, or the total snow. For instance, if I set this to 1, it would change our graph. Let's see what settings were deemed optimal for this location. Oops. Looks like we had temperature threshold of 1, mean difference temperature of 1 and 0.5. So go back here, set that 1, 1, and 0.5. Excellent. The next step, when you've played with these values, or if you know how it should look, is to copy this section, and again, oh, did I not copy it? There we go. Paste the values, and you'll see that this will add a red line here. That is the values to be cleaned, as we called them. Beginning from the end, you can see there's a lot of inconsistency, but and by looking at a copy of the original temperature data, just the same thing that we pasted in yellow, is automatically copied here, and in red we see positive values. We can begin to adjust the values seen here. For instance, we're still at 0 all the way till this day, so I will fill this in. As such. And that's usually how I begin the cleaning process, is from the bottom up. There you go. And then when there are large gaps that I deem were still covered in snow, I simply gauge if I'm filling it, and yeah, in this case I am. You can also zoom out, have a better sense of the trends. 60s, yeah. As such, and I won't do it all because it can be a bit time consuming. But you see there's several holes you still need to fill. But ultimately, you start making a distinction between the blue and the red. And when it's completed, you'll have something that looks like this. Ah, very nice. Oop. Nice graph. If we go down to the bottom of our page, not that far down, we have the same graph again. And in green, the values we were looking for, the snow meter days. So we can compare the ones that were calculated automatically and the ones after having been cleaned. And the snow meter days are the values that then appear right here. So 108 for 2006, 2007. These columns, plus or minus, gives an idea of the precision. If there were large gaps between the working I buttons on the stake, you might have larger errors than another site, or another year even. Thank you so much.